Recently, Rfactor 2 was updated with a new Rfactor 2 launcher, and here we are in the new Rfactor launcher, which is absolutely fantastic and makes it far more easy to grab new content from RSI, install it in the game and make sure you have it already. Now before they had this, you had to go on the website, download stuff individually, then install it, then check if you already got it, which version you got, whereas now you can see they've got a news feed of what's been released, most recently Lime Rock Park version 2.0. Then you click on this open box, like a Christmas box, and you can see what you've got installed and what you haven't got installed. So it's really nice and an absolutely ginormous improvement on what there was before. Now, what I'm going to do is, because Lime Rock Park 2.0 has come out and I haven't had a chance to try it yet, I'm going to jump in and give it a go. So we're going to install it from the installer. This is a moderately fresh install of Rfactor 2. I think I've got some things installed before, but I've not really used that much. It's just what I installed over the top of a previous copy, which you shouldn't really do. You're supposed to clear it all off, but you know, I'm lazy. So we're going to install Lime Rock Park 2.0. Let's see if this works. One click install. RSI Lime Rock Park 2012 2.8 downloading now from the RSI service. Let's hope it doesn't take too long. Okay, so we've loaded it up into Rfactor 2. And well, we can pick the track now because it's installed. But one thing I did notice when I was on the spinner view, Lime Rock Park 2.0 doesn't show up unless you click on the list view and then select it from there. So just make sure you've got list view selected at the top if you actually want to drive on the new Lime Rock Park. A little bit confusing, a little bit counterintuitive, but that's Rfactor 2, and you know, you just have to do these things to get to the driving. Now let's find out what's different with this as it loads up. The loading screen looks the same as before. Turboing through the loading. This is running off a normal hard drive, not my SSD. So I have had Rfactor 2 installed on in the past on an SSD, and it does load about 3 or 4 times faster. And if you do race Rfactor 2 online, you play it a lot, definitely worth putting it on an SSD, especially with SSD prices coming down more, so you can actually have the Rfactor 2 content all on it without running out of space for your other stuff. Let's just go. We're going straight into a race. There we go. Everything seems to be working. The track completely green. Of course, one of the features of Rfactor 2 is that it has a real road, which means that the road basically rubbers in as the cars drive around it, and so you end up with a racing line that has more grip than off the racing line, which can make things quite tricky when you go to overtake and you've got no grip. But it is what it is, and I think it can, you know, sometimes it can be really good and sometimes it can be frustrating. Oh, now the track right now looks fairly similar to the previous release of it. The original, the 1.4 version of this track in Rfactor 2, or the first version that was in the game, was, I believe, a newish version of the track anyway. Compared to the iRacing version of the track had the old curbing, whereas this has the newer curbing in it. So I'm not sure if the track surface itself is going to change that much with this update, or if it's mostly a case of, oh hello, AI trying to push me off the track. Dirty RSI AI there. So I'm not sure in terms of surface if they've changed that many details. Oh, what's he doing? AI driving like an absolute drunk into me. If you rejoin a track like that, you're going to get a thump after this race, mate. So the surface seems pretty similar to the older versions. What's most noticeable to me right now, and I hope this is the case, I could be just imagining this, it looks like the back end going flying out there on the throttle. It looks like the trackside details have increased. There seems to be far more assets at the side of the track. If you look to the right here, these hills, I don't know, it looks a little bit like there's more stuff there. And on the left, look at that hill with other people stood on it. It seems far more detailed to me. Maybe I'm imagining things. Oh, as we lose all grip, back end swings out, and the AI has a sniff on the bumper, but he's not getting past. Now, I think a lot of people complain about how Rfactor 2 looks, and I think it's a fair enough thing to say. I think unless you set Rfactor 2 up right and you've got a pretty beastly computer, it can look a little bit naff. And even with it set up in the evening now, I think it can look a bit muddy and washed out. But having said that, I have done multiplayer races, and especially at lower, if you play the game at lower field of views and you have things set up just right and you're really focused in a race, I found Rfactor 2 can be really absorbing, like really pulls you in, and it can feel really natural in some ways. It's hard to explain because you do get a lot of modern simulators where they're really shiny and nice, and the textures are amazing, the amount of trackside assets are incredible, but sometimes they can just feel a bit sort of cartoony in a way. And I found at times Rfactor 2 can feel very believable visually, but it depends entirely on the settings, the track, and a whole load of other variables. And for the most part, I think if you were just going to jump into Rfactor 2, you didn't know what you're doing, you didn't set it up right, it just looks awful. But what I'm trying to say is Rfactor 2 doesn't always look awful, and it depends largely on how you set it up. But it does have to be said, you can't really argue, it does require a faster computer to really get the most out of it. And, it's not as efficient at running as, say, Assetto Corsa, iRacing, or Project Cars. So there's that. But look, the lighting here is a really nice, subtle. The dirt effect on the screen, you can see it there as the light goes across it. Just a little bit of dirt texture, and the way the lights are dancing through the cockpit now, it looks quite crisp and just feels really nice. Oh, can we catch up with these guys? Whoa, struggling for grip as I take the least conventional racing line through here. Now, the AI in Rfactor 2 can be really good. They do tend to drive very much single file, but I mean, to be honest, on this track you probably would expect real people to drive very much single file. But even on other tracks, you do get sort of weird single file racing, more so than you'd expect in reality. But the AI are really good a lot of the time, and they don't tend to suffer from being too slow around certain corners that in other simulators AI can sort of trundle along and then crash into each other a lot. I think the AI in Rfactor 2, it's on a par with sort of game stock car and some of the best AI that you can get, even through different difficulty levels. So if you race easier AI, for example, you can still get very convincing racing. Whereas if you put the AI on easy in some simulators, they just become really erratic. So much so that it makes it harder than if you were to put them on the harder setting. But I have to say, this looks pretty good. Now the installer just makes Rfactor 2 so much more accessible, and I think this is the thing with Rfactor 2. There's lots to Rfactor 2 that's absolutely extraordinary, and the amount of features in the game, it's pretty much unparalleled, really. It's got all the pits. It's a fully fledged simulator. It has everything you really need to do, like full-length races, pit stops, tyre wear, road surface, weather, day and night. I think you can even do a proper night time as well, like 24-hour races. You can... A really awesome feature that ISI don't particularly market, which is really bizarre, is you can do racing with... Whoa! What's he doing? You can do racing with AI and a friend. So if there's just two of you and you wanted a full field race, or you were just doing sort of like a team race with your friends, see how far you and your friend can come in a race, you can create your own server, put a bunch of AI on it, and have a really good time. All online, it all syncs up properly. And I can't think of any other game that's got that as an option. And to me, that's an absolutely fantastic feature in Rfactor 2 for people that don't want to do full online racing because they don't like public servers and they don't like the crashing and all the... and they maybe don't want to join a league because, they can't organise it. But they've got friends that do sim racing with, and they just want to do racing with friends. That is an absolutely incredible feature, and ISI don't talk about it at all. I bet you most people don't even realise it's an option. But I mean, that's ISI for you. It's like they don't want to sell their product. There's some features and aspects of Rfactor 2 that are absolutely mind-bogglingly good. Oh! I thought he was going to rear end me there. I was struggling for grip, but we're okay. some features are absolutely amazing. So I don't talk about them, and I can't believe they only just recently did that UI launcher, because again, that just makes it so much more convenient to get into Rfactor 2, which for a lot of people, you know, they're not people doing sim racing aren't real race drivers. They don't have a couple £100,000 spare in the bank account. They don't have the free time to travel around the world, going to real race tracks and doing race meets. And so they don't have the time to fiddle around with software. They just want to drive and, you know, have fun in between doing their mundane day-to-day life. So, well, I mean, that's the lesson of this video. ISI, good job on the launcher. Good job on this new version of Lime Rock Park and the new layout, which I'll need to check out. I'll do that in a separate video. But the real moral is, why aren't you selling your product properly? What is wrong with you? Rfactor 2 and the new Lime Rock Park. Drive sober or get pulled over. But yeah, that's Rfactor 2, the new Lime Rock Park. For some reason, driving this American car around an American track just makes me natter. But yeah, it looks good. It looks like there's more details at the side. Rfactor 2 is easier to launch thanks to the launcher. Really good fun. If you've already got it, definitely worth getting the new launcher, and there'll be less of a faff if you want to do other things. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments if you'd like, well, what you'd like to see, if you'd like any more Rfactor 2 stuff covered, and don't forget to subscribe and like, and I'll see you in the future. Goodbye.